Afternoon, happy Valentine's Day, and welcome to today's Way Forward Workshop Leader Lunch Break. This is a very special edition as we look back on 10 years of accelerating change in Cleveland through the eyes of our special partners who make it all happen. I will offer only brief introductions today so we can hear from our three guests. Each has played a critical role in elevating great ideas to improve our Cleveland community through the Leadership Center's annual civic pitch competition, Accelerate, Citizens Make Change. From the unwavering sponsorship of Citizens since 2016 to WKYC's highlighting both the event and the courageous individuals who pitch their ideas on We the People, to Ideastream's airtime for our winners and supporters on the Sound of Ideas. First, Jim Malz, Midwest Region Executive and Ohio President of Citizens, longtime Accelerate supporter and enthusiast. Next, Byrnes, President and General Manager at WKYC Media, CLC Board Member and past MC of Accelerate. And Mike McIntyre, Executive Editor of Ideastream on WKSU and longtime MC of Accelerate. These folks have heard over 250 ideas pitched over the history of the event and been on the stage as the winners were revealed. With great memories to share, we welcome Jim, Micki, and Mike.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
All right,
Jim, take it away.
Okay. I will kick things off. Thanks, Marianne. I had a little technical difficulty here myself. You know, you never know what's going to go on with these things. And I wish I were there in person with Micki and Mike, so we can, banner it up together for the next half hour. But I'm really thrilled to have this opportunity to moderate this nice discussion with Micki and Mike. But I tell you, it is Valentine's Day, so I want to say happy Valentine's Day again. It's all about love, so I hope everyone out there spends some time with a little loving later. And speaking of love, we at Citizens absolutely love this event. I tell you, it's been 10 years. It's hard to believe. I think we missed the first year. I think we saw how good this was going to become. And so, hey, let's jump on. And boy, the impact it has in our great community here has just been nothing short of awesome. So very thrilled to be doing it now for 9 of the 10. I just got to put that out there. And, we're all about, helping our communities, fostering strength and, growing enrichment for all of our great community individuals for the betterment of tomorrow. And that's really what this Accelerate is all about. It's just seeing the collaboration, the empowerment, the guts, the boldness, the confidence that not only the presenters have, but also the work that's done around the edges with dozens of corporate, foundation, and nonprofit partners in the community, not only to serve as volunteers, but also to serve as judges. And they do a phenomenal job. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be a judge at this event because there are so many wonderful pitches from a diverse set of folks and a diverse set of ideas. And so kudos to the folks that are judges every year. Their job is demanding and their job is not that easy, I got to tell you. So speaking of excitement, I tell you what, personally, this is my favorite event of the year. And I have a lot that I do, not only personally, but I do a lot for, the good work here at Citizens. But this is my favorite just because of the folks that, can network, collaborate, and be innovative and share ideas that, frankly, up until 10 years ago, there was no platform for our own, if you would, civic Shark Tank. And this is really what this is. It is a blast. The energy in the room when we do the final night is just amazing. The people are amazing. The friends and family support of the presenters is just nothing short of spectacular. And that's why, not only for me personally, but for us at Citizens, is just an amazing event for us to be a part of. And, I'm just excited to be able to spend the next few minutes with you today with both Micki and Mike, who really, much more than maybe we have done, but really have shaped this event over the years and shaped, great experiences for all those that have participated and all those for yet to come. So I really want to thank them before we get started for your contributions and your good work and your volunteerism and your investment in this great, impactful event. So thank you for that. So Great. And happy Valentine's Day. And by the way, Mike, happy belated birthday again. So,
Thank you.
that's great. So really just want to spend the next couple of minutes, asking you some things, sharing your experiences and stories, and, how you benefited not only personally, but also what you see and what you've experienced, throughout, the last 10 years or so. So really just going to ask you a few questions today, and we can go back and forth on this. And, Micki, I will start with you, if that's okay.
Of course.
And it's always good to start off with a Leadership Cleveland 2005 classmate. So it's
Best
always,
class ever.
best class ever. So in any event, good to see you. Good to see you. So really, again, just a few questions. The first one I want to ask you, and then Mike, I will pivot to you, is what do you think that makes Accelerate different from, maybe other pitch competitions that you've either been a part of or observed?
I think it works on a number of different levels. In terms of why I'm personally involved, and have been for a long time. One, as you all know, and the reason we're here today is to make you all show up next week. It's the biggest fundraiser for the Leadership Center, and it's really important that we all support. Two, I have to tell you personally, I'm on recruiting mode when I'm there. There's some fascinating people. There's some great stories. There are just people you would never normally connect with, depending on your business and everything else. So I enjoy getting to meet folks. I've been lucky enough to be a judge. I've been lucky enough to MC, as mentioned. I've been lucky enough to do some of the prep ahead of time. And so you get to meet people who are like, that person would be really interesting in this role, or how do I connect him to somebody else? And then the third part of it is people, it's the middle of winter. And I know it's been nice this past month, but most of us have been hibernating for a couple of months. And to get out and to connect with everyone, to see Jim, to see Mike, to see all the people we've missed over the past however many months, that Cleveland networking, hugging kind of vibe. Oh, we're going to do lunch. I mean, it's fun. That energy is wonderful. So personally, that's why I love the event, for all those reasons. But in terms of what it brings to the region, it elevates people who perhaps would not have another path to that level of awareness, to that level of personal growth, to that level of making an impact. And we'll go through some of the specifics that I think both Mike and I have had a chance to see. But even though the money's not a ton, and I know in the big picture, 5,000 doesn't sound, or 2,500 doesn't sound enormous, you're changing people's lives. And these ideas that grow and move and they connect with people and it gets bigger and they go on to win other grants, like so many of these people have. It's a game changer, and it's cool to be front and center watching that happen. Don't you agree, Mike?
I do agree. What makes it different, I think, is this is the only pitch competition I've ever been involved with that's clothing optional. I think it really does make it unique and surprising. Most people have chosen clothing through the past, but again, it's optional. What I like about this particular pitch competition, I've been to a few others, is you can almost spot the people that are there to make big money someday. They're like, I've got the next great idea. This is going to be my chance to live like in Mickey Byrnes' neighborhood. Like, I'm going to make some big money and get myself out of here. That sometimes is what you get in a pitch competition. In this one, to a person, the pitch is about how to fix something that needs improved in Cleveland. And it really, you sit there for a minute and you think, these are ideas that come from people that live the experience that they're talking about. It's not some, where's there the void in the market and where can I make money? It's, I just drove over a pothole and how can we fix those in a way that's more cost effective and make my neighborhood better? And when you talk to a number of these people, the variety of things that concern them is a real interesting microcosm of the variety of things that are opportunities for Cleveland and are really difficulties for Cleveland. So you see everything from infrastructure to how to educate children, to how to solve another problem, and on and on. There was one guy who wanted to solve the world's problems by opening a brewery. I love that guy, Jeremy.
I remember that one.
It didn't work out, but he is in a career now where he's really helping people and bringing people together. I think it's something about bringing fathers back together with their families, which I think breweries have a lot to do with the opposite of that sometimes. But that was an idea where a guy got up on stage and was like, I want to give people a pint of beer and give them a reason to drink it beyond the fact that it's a tasty beer. And I thought, who comes up with an idea like that? And it's somebody that's really thinking about how to solve problems.
Right. There's no question. I think you hit right on the head. I mean, the variety of pitches, the ones that, all of them, frankly, are just awesome. And, sometimes you walk around when you're, listening to some of these or you're seeing some of these, it's like, why did I think of that? And then kudos for these individuals to think of something and then have the sheer will to, take it upon themselves to present. And, that is a very, daunting experience. I don't know if I could do that today, quite frankly. So kudos to everyone. And no idea, by the way, is, less important than the others. Unfortunately, we have to pick some winners, and they're all winners in our books. So it's just awesome to see everyone there and to be so energetic about their baby, and that's their pitch. And speaking of pitches, Mike, I'll go back to you. Have you had a memorable one? You talked to one about the beer and the brewery and all that, but any others that come to mind that stick out for you that it's like, geez, oh man, this has been awesome as well?
There are a ton of them. And by the way, to your point about people getting up and making that pitch, I find that to be one of the most interesting parts of this too, because these are not people that have been rehearsing this for years. It's like, hey, come to this pitch competition, sit in front of 5 people and get to be a finalist. And then suddenly you're in a room with 500 plus people and, a clown like me trying to make everybody sort of feel excited about the thing. And there's a couple of years we had guys banging on garbage can lids. And so there's, all of this is happening. And in this maelstrom, they're able to focus and deliver this idea, which to me is just an amazing thing. To ask people to do that. I mean, I feel that way when I ask people to be on our radio shows. And I'm sure Micki does on TV too. They're not used to that. And so suddenly a camera goes on or a microphone is flipped on and they've, there's that panic and yet they deliver. And the same thing happened with the pitches. A bunch of them come to mind, but I think one of them, Micki will probably say the exact same as I would, is a woman named Joanne Smith.
Yep.
When I first encountered her, it was because she was doing something called Getting Our Babies to College 101, which she now has as a career. At the time, she was a worker for Cuyahoga County. And this was an idea she had because she had 2 young kids that were trying to get into college, try to do it affordably. How do you go through that whole process? And then some of the other things, how are you ready for that? How do you choose? And I was in that point of my life too, around that point. So it really connected with me. And she was terrific. I remember writing a story. So I also steal ideas there, Micki, for both Ideastream, but at the time I was also a columnist at the Plain Dealer. And I ended up writing a column about Joanne because it came right at the time when, if you remember, the Hollywood stars, Felicity Huffman among them,
right,
who were paying for their kids to get into college and pretending like they were on the crew team or something, and all kinds of ways to manipulate the system. And here was somebody who was saying, let's get kids who aren't of this privilege into college, and how do we get that done? And the contrast to me was really stark at that time, which is one of the reasons I thought it was so exciting. She went on from that to then develop this 1,000 Ties complex. She just, a concept. She just had Laurice Purnell, Leadership Cleveland Class of 22, greatest class ever. She had him there at that event, but it was literally teaching young people how to tie a tie, how to shake a hand, how to look somebody in the eye, how to have an interview, the kinds of soft skills that are necessary for us to move on to next levels, to jobs and those types of things. She just comes up with great ideas and she's passionate. Yep. I know I've written about her and Micki, you guys have, Margaret, I think, have had her on the air.
Yep, we have. And again, there were so many of them, it's almost hard to choose because each of them touch you in some way, shape, or form. One of the ones that I remember, I was actually doing the prep. We went to John Carroll, I don't remember what year that was, a couple of years ago. And it was a way to coach these people through the preliminary part of their idea. How do they best stage it? Are they bringing props? It was a way for them to practice before they actually did it that evening. And so 2 guys walk into this room at John Carroll, and they were professional DJs. And I was like, oh, how is this gonna work? And they already had a business. And so part of it was like, well, what are they trying to do in terms of the social impact or as we talked about, moving this community forward? And they started to talk, and they explained the connection that music has to people, and the emotional pull of music, and how it brings people together, and how it brings people out of their shells, and how, they've worked a lot with younger kids and teens, and music sort of drops their barriers and lets them start to experience things, and it gives them, and specifically in this case, kind of a path. They get trained to be a DJ, and then they can start doing gigs, at their high school or whatever. And it was fascinating. Plus the music was very cool. And so they presented, and of course, blew everyone away. And we, like Mike, keep looking and stealing ideas and stories and stuff. So we've actually followed them this past year. And if you Google Soundbender, you'll see the stories we've done on them. But again, something completely different that you wouldn't necessarily think, how is this professional DJ company kind of startup, how is that really going to impact the community? But the deeper you got into it, the more you realize the sort of the tentacles that connected it all, and the upside for these kids and teens and families. So it was a very cool story. So
Jim, can I throw one more in?
Yeah,
please.
There isn't, first of all, Ann Kahn is right. She agrees on greatest class ever. She's right. There was two young kids in 2019, Carson Baldwin and Israel Kamamba, and they got up there. I mean, they're kids. They're 15 and 16 years old, and gave this idea for something called One Respe, which was essentially a way to welcome newcomers to school by having peers. And so Carson was at university school, and Israel was in the Cleveland schools. But they created this peer network welcoming thing. I think about that because just today, Cuyahoga County opened a welcome center for visitors, for immigrants and others, refugees, et cetera. But for the two of them to have that idea, and then at 15 and 16 to get up there, and I thought, okay, they're going to be kids sort of delivering this thing. Perhaps one of the most professional presentations I've ever seen. These guys were just unbelievable, and they were great on the radio too. But it just shows you that range and age of the people that come and pitch.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it great, because I remember that, and I remember the others, and when you're on stage and you see all the candidates and the presenters up there together as a group, all you see are the pearly whites and smiling. I think they're relieved that the pitch is over. They're like, oh, they can relax. But I think they're also just happy and so thrilled that, there's hundreds of folks out there in the audience, they're supporting them and clapping and cheering them on. I think it's just amazing. And so they're just happy to kind of have the opportunity to do it, and then B, the opportunity hopefully to maybe win some seed money and have this thing take off. But I think even if it doesn't happen, if you don't win, the collaboration that goes on among the presenters over the years, I think is really thrilling for me to see. And then getting back to Joanne, I had the pleasure with her to being on We the People a few weeks ago. And then we just learned that her son is actually one of the presenters this year. He's pitching an idea. So I think, to me, that's the perfect example of what makes Accelerate and the impact it has to the folks in our community. I think it's just awesome. So any other memorable moments from the last 10 years of Accelerate that you can think of?
I have one that actually was very funny and horrifying at the same time. I think Mike and I were presenting. That might have been, remember, it was Olympics, and I think we walked in with ski goggles and we were like acting like idiots, but we had a good time.
Idea.
Anyway, so I think it was Ben Colas who he had done the kinder kits. He had won the year before. And great idea for those of you who might not remember. He's a kindergarten teacher, and all in his kids were coming, to the first couple of weeks of kindergarten, and they didn't really know their letters, and they didn't really know their numbers, and they weren't, necessarily as prepped as he thought they should be. And so he, to Mike's point, out of his life experience, created a product that would help. And he created this kinder kit, a way for families and parents to work with the kids to get them ready for kindergarten. And they were getting them, I think, assembled at like the Metzenbaum school with disabled kids. Anyway, there was a really wonderful story about how it all worked. And the impact was huge. They actually saw the numbers significantly different the next year and the year after that. But that night, he was the year's previous winner, and he was getting up to say thank you and what had happened with his plan. And then we were going to introduce whoever the new winner was. And he got up and he was charming and wonderful. And he did this heartfelt, beautiful thank you to, was it Key Bank? Or Huntington. And meanwhile, the whole front row was all citizens, and you were being wonderful. You were just, you were, and all of a sudden he could tell in our face. Mike and I looked at each other like, what do we do? And he must have figured out that we were panicking. And then he all of a sudden realized, who the right sponsor was. And he was adorable, but it did make you realize that everybody gave him a hug. You guys were great with him after. It was that coming together piece, no matter what kind of mistake you might be making in the moment and standing in front of 500 people. But it was just charming. And you know what? And you walk out of there feeling like there's hope in the world, feeling like moments of joy, the excitement level, the pride they all have. I don't know. I always drive home feeling like, you know what? We're okay. We're going to get there. Things are going to be better.
Yeah, and Ben Colas was amazing. He used in that Kinder Kits, it was like Fruit Loops and Skittles and stuff.
Yeah.
He wanted to teach kids, they weren't ready for kindergarten. And he wanted to teach them letters, numbers, shape recognition, counting, and name writing. And so these are some of the tools that he used to do it. But he said in that speech where he got up and talked about the wrong bank, he got up and he said, in Cleveland schools before the first year of the Kinder Kit, and it was very anecdotal, but he was teaching kindergarten. In a class that he was in, one of the 26 kids in kindergarten recognized any letter. And he said that that went up to 65%. Two of them recognized the numbers 6 through 9. That went up 75%. So just getting that early recognition, which some people take for granted, was a really cool idea. He's now gone on. He's a bright fellow at Ohio State University, getting his MBA at the Fisher College. So he's gone on to greater things in his own educational growth as well.
Totally awesome. I know for me, I mean, it was, it really wasn't about a particular pitch. It was the year of COVID. I think it was 2021 when we were at Tri-C East and everything was dark. Marianne, I'm sure you remember that. And then just going up on stage, doing your sound bites, you're the only one there in the room, basically, on this big stage. And I think Mike Polk saved the day, at least live, when he had all of his 4 or 5 little stints and comedy shows of topics and things of that nature, but everything was done virtually. But I was thinking going in, it's like, how are we ever going to pull this off? And I tell you what, everyone involved pulled it off beautifully. And I think it was one of the better ones because of the COVID challenge we had that year, because we couldn't do anything in person. So it was a very memorable, keeping everything going for, 10 consecutive years is very memorable for me that we pulled it off. Very cool. So in a few words, I'd like to have some time for Q&A, but in a few words, why would someone want to go to Accelerate? Tell me, what's the sales pitch to why should someone attend and go to Accelerate? And I know we talked a lot about it. I'm thinking your enthusiasm came out loud and clear for both of you, but how would you convince someone to go to Accelerate and why should they go?
Well, Micki will give you the high level thinking, I'm sure. In my case, it's a hell of a party. It's a great time. There's a ton of people there that you want to know, people that I've made friends with and networked with professionally and personally since then. And most importantly, you have the best MC in the history of Accelerate this year, a guy named Mike Polk Jr., way better than anybody who's been there previously, present company included. He'll make it a good time. And that's part of what the theme of the night is, which is we're not all so serious. These are important issues, but let's have a good time. Let's relax and enjoy each other's company. That's reason enough to be there.
Yep.
Totally agree. Just keep an eye on Mike. I always get nervous when I send him out into public. I'm always afraid something is going to happen. No, totally agree. Guys, you know what? It's a wonderful experience. It's very reasonable, and your time invested is more than worth it. So make it happen.
Yeah, I would just end, and I think we can go to Q&A, Rachel, but I would just end, but I think we all hit upon the connections that you make, and it doesn't matter with whom. I mean, there's folks from all walks of life, from a variety degrees of, diverse backgrounds, and it's just amazing. In fact, for me personally, it's just been wonderful to maintain these connections and get calls and meet for lunch and talk about ideas, or just making new friends and having associations and introducing folks. I get the great privilege sometimes of making connections for others. And I think that's what we all have to do. And I love giving back that way. And it's just amazing that these folks have, they're hungry, they're curious, they want to meet people, they need help. And boy, what better way to have resources there to help them. And that's why, for me, that's why I tell go. Everyone should go. It's just amazing to watch. And then you meet a lot of people. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Great. I think we have about 4 minutes, Rachel, I see. I hope we're on time. I mean, I think the three of us could talk for a long time about this because we're so enthusiastic about it. But I know, we have some bills to pay and all that. So I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you all so much. It's been fun to do a bit of a trip down memory lane and hear your enthusiastic support of such a wonderful event. We do have time for some questions. So would love to hear from each of you. The event, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of parts of the event. For those who are planning to attend, what advice would you give them to make the most out of their experience?
Ooh, that's tough. I would try to, first of all, it's super organized, guys. It's unbelievably, it's on time. Everything happens at the right time. And so everything moves quickly. I would try to duck into, look what's being pitched, figure out what might be most of interest to you. But as best you can in the appropriate time, move around a lot. Try to see as many of the presentations as possible. After it starts, they won't let you in the room. They used to not do that. Is that still the case? I mean, to make sure they're not disrupting, the speaker. But try to hit as many of them as you can, because the breadth of the information and ideas is amazing.
I'd agree with that. Put on your listening ears. It's a place for you to really hear some great ideas. That's my strategy. By the way,
not only that, on the intros, the music that they play when folks come up to the stage, it is really awesome. It's kind of neat. I mean, the vibe is just tremendous. So you're just gonna feel the vibe. The people too. I think Micki and Mike, to your earlier points, there's so much hope. Everybody's happy. You'll see it and feel it in the room the whole night.
So one final question, with your experiences at Accelerate, and as we look ahead to the future, what would you like to most see for Accelerate in the next few years?
More money. Jim, that's up to you.
Yes.
I'd love to be able to give more people more money to make some of these ideas a reality. And however we can figure out a way to do that would be great.
I think it's been really cool here just talking about Ben and having Michael put in the chat about how Ben is one of 2 bright fellows that are former Accelerate presenters. I would love to see a sort of Accelerate All-Stars. And maybe bring them back. Let's have Joanne back, and let's have Carson and Israel back, and past winners, what's happened to their ideas. Not every idea is a business that's going to be around a decade from now. I think Kinderkits was a few years kind of thing, great idea, and a number of other people are doing similar things. But so it isn't a thing about how successful was it many years later, but what impact did it have at that time? How did it change either Cleveland or yourself? I could see a segment where we could maybe go into a room and talk to these past winners and get some insights.
Yeah, I totally agree on that, Mike. I think that would be awesome to see.
Great. Well, thank you so very much for generating even more enthusiasm for Accelerate. It's been reverberating around the walls in our offices for several weeks now, and love to hear you shouting it out to the rooftops in Cleveland. So thank you all for your support over the years, and thanks to citizens for making it all happen year after year. Yes, super grateful for that.